The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor the same moment my sister said the words that would destroy her. At least Dad loved me enough to walk me down the aisle. The ballroom, all 200 guests, the crystal chandeliers, the $10,000 floral arrangements, went silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then the laughter started. It rolled through the crowd like a wave, and I felt each laugh like a physical blow to my chest. My hands went numb around my own champagne flute. The room tilted. My mother's voice cut through the laughter, sharp and cold as always. Your dad couldn't even stand to look at her. More laughter. Someone actually applauded. I was sitting at table 7, not the family table, you understand, but close enough to be humiliated, far enough to know my place, and I realized something I should have understood years ago. They hadn't invited me to celebrate. They'd invited me to be the punchline. The silk of my dress suddenly felt like sandpaper. The floral centerpiece, peonies and garden roses, my sister Bethany had been very specific, smelled sickeningly sweet, like funeral flowers. My throat closed up. Then my grandmother stood. The scrape of her chair against the floor made everyone turn. Grandma Lorraine was 83, barely 5 feet tall, wearing a purple dress she'd picked out herself because her words, "I'm too old to wear beige to feel invisible." She walked to the front of the room, each step deliberate, her cane tapping against the marble like a judge's gavel. She took the microphone from Bethany's hand. My sister's smile faltered. "Thank you, darling," Grandma said, her voice steady and clear. "What a lovely speech. So heartfelt." Bethany's smile returned. Our mother, Diane, sat straighter, proud. "I'd like to add something," Grandma continued. She turned to face the crowd, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Something cold. Something calculated. "I think it's time everyone here knew the truth about why Nora's father isn't here today." The room went silent again. But this silence was different. Hungry. My stomach dropped. "Grandma, what are you doing?" "I'm Nora, by the way. I'm 28. The forgotten daughter. The one they never expected to show up tonight. Before I tell you what happened next, comment below where you're watching from. I love connecting with you all. Let me back up. You need to understand how I got here. 6 months before the wedding, I was living in Portland, working as a financial analyst for a tech startup. I had my own apartment, my own life, and I'd carefully built it 3,000 miles away from my family for a reason. My father had died when I was 19. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating. Or so I'd been told. Growing up, I'd always been different from Bethany. She was the golden child, cheerleader, homecoming queen, the daughter who did everything right. I was quieter, bookish, more interested in economics than social climbing. My mother had always made it clear who she preferred. Even before Dad died, I felt it. After he was gone, it became explicit. "Your father always loved Bethany more," my mother told me once, casually, over breakfast when I was 21. "You reminded him too much of his own failures." I'd learned to accept it. Learned to build a life where their opinions didn't matter. Then the wedding invitation arrived. Cream cardstock, gold lettering. Formal. Expensive. I opened it and noticed something strange. My name was handwritten at the bottom in different ink. The rest was printed, professional, perfect. I stared at it for a full minute before I understood. I called Bethany. "Oh," she said, her voice tight. "Mom added you after we'd already sent everything to the printer. The guest list was finalized weeks ago." The line went quiet. Then she added, almost as an afterthought, "We needed even numbers for the tables." I wasn't invited. I was a placeholder. A warm body to fill a chair. And at the bottom, in my mother's handwriting, not the invitation designer's script, "We expect you to attend." Family obligations. Not "We'd love to have you." Not "Please come celebrate with us." Obligations. I should have known then. I flew in 3 days before the wedding. The moment I walked into my mother's house, the same house I'd grown up in, though she'd redecorated to erase any trace of me, I felt a familiar knot in my stomach. Bethany was there, surrounded by bridesmaids, all of them drinking champagne and laughing about something I wasn't part of. She looked up when I entered. "Oh," she said, her voice flat. You actually came? Of course I came, I said. You invited me. Mom invited you. She turned back to her friends. I wanted the numbers even. One of the bridesmaids, a woman named Harper I vaguely remembered from high school, giggled. Well, at least now you have someone to seat with the weird cousins. I should have left right then. But I didn't. Because somewhere deep in my pathetic, hopeful heart, I thought maybe this time it would be different. Maybe my sister was just stressed about the wedding. Maybe my mother would soften. Maybe I could belong, just for one weekend. I was so stupid. The rehearsal dinner was the first warning sign. My mother seated me at the far end of the table, next to Bethany's fiancé's elderly uncle who spent the entire meal talking about his prostate. When the toast started, my mother gave a beautiful speech about what an incredible daughter Bethany was, how proud she'd always been. She didn't mention me once. Not once. Afterward, I found Grandma Lorraine in the hotel garden. She was sitting on a bench, staring at the fountain, her expression unreadable. You should go home, sweetheart, she said quietly when I sat beside her. I will. After the wedding. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes. Pity mixed with anger. They're going to hurt you tomorrow. You know that, don't you? My chest tightened. It's just a wedding, Grandma. Nothing with your mother is just anything. She patted my hand. Her skin was thin as paper, spotted with age. But stay if you need to. Sometimes we have to touch the stove to believe it's hot. Just remember, she added, standing slowly, I've always kept my promises. I didn't understand what she meant. Not then. The wedding ceremony itself was beautiful. Bethany looked stunning in a dress that cost more than my car. The church was packed. Everyone cried during the vows. Even me, though my tears tasted bitter. During the family photos, the photographer kept trying to position me in the shots. My mother kept pulling me out. Just immediate family, she said each time, her smile tight. I was immediate family. I was her daughter. But apparently I didn't count. The reception started perfectly. Dinner was served filet mignon and Chilean sea bass because Bethany always got what she wanted. The band played. People danced. I sat at table 7 with 3 couples I didn't know and an empty chair that might as well have had my name on it. Unwanted. Then came the speeches. The best man went first. Funny stories about the groom, some light teasing, the usual. Then Bethany took the microphone. She started normal enough. Thanking everyone for coming, talking about how special the day was, how lucky she felt. Her voice had that practiced sweetness she'd perfected in high school. Then she turned to look directly at our mother. Mom, I have to thank you especially, Bethany said, her eyes glistening with theatrical tears. You've always been there for me. You and Dad both showed me what unconditional love looks like. Even when things were hard. Even when... She paused for effect. Even when we had to deal with disappointing situations in our family, you taught me that some people are worth investing in and some people... She looked at me. Some people just can't be fixed. The room shifted uncomfortably. A few people laughed nervously. Bethany smiled wider. At least Dad loved me enough to walk me down the aisle. The laughter exploded then. Real laughter. Cruel laughter. My mother's voice carried over it all. He couldn't even stand to look at her. The champagne glass slipped from my hand. I watched it fall in slow motion, watched it shatter, watched the golden liquid spread across the white tablecloth like a stain I'd never be able to clean. My face burned, my vision blurred. Every eye in the room was on me, some pitying, most amused, all of them witnesses to my public execution. I couldn't breathe. The room was too hot, too bright, too full of people who hated me for reasons I'd never fully understand. Then Grandma Lorraine stood. I think it's time everyone here knew the truth about why Nora's father isn't here today, she said into the microphone, her voice carrying across the stunned ballroom. Bethany's face went white. My mother started to stand, but Grandma held up one hand. Sit down, Diane. My mother sat. Grandma turned to face the crowd. My son, Nora, and Bethany's father, James, died 9 years ago. Heart attack, sudden, tragic. What most of you don't know is what happened in the 3 years before he died. My heart hammered against my ribs. James left Diane when Nora was 16, Grandma continued. Moved out, filed for divorce. Do you know why? Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Because he couldn't stomach living with a woman who'd been systematically destroying their daughter's self-worth since she was old enough to talk. Grandma's voice didn't waver. He called me every week, crying about how Diane manipulated both girls, but especially how she'd convinced Bethany that being cruel to Nora was acceptable. Expected, even. I felt dizzy. James and Nora were close, Grandma said, and I saw her eyes flick to me. He took her to dinner every Wednesday, helped her with college applications, told her constantly how proud he was of her. That's not, my mother started. I have the letters, Diane. Grandma's voice cut like a blade. Every single letter he wrote to Nora, every card, every email. Want to know what Nora doesn't know? Want to know what you did? The room held its breath. You intercepted them, Grandma said. All of them. For 3 years. Nora thought her father abandoned her. She thought he chose Bethany. She spent years believing he didn't love her. My chest cracked open. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. James died thinking Nora hated him, Grandma continued, because Diane told him Nora refused to see him, refused to read his letters. She played both sides, kept them apart. And when he had his heart attack, stress-induced, the doctors said, he died believing his daughter had rejected him. You're senile, my mother hissed. I'm prepared. Grandma reached into her purse and pulled out a thick manila envelope. I have 3 years of correspondence. I have emails. I have the private investigator's report showing you intercepted Nora's mail.
She paused.
Something flickered in her eyes. And I have the recording. The room went dead silent. 6 months before James died, Grandma said, her voice quieter now, more dangerous. He called me from a hospital payphone. He'd just confronted Diane about the intercepted letters. She didn't deny it. She told him exactly why she'd done it. Grandma pulled out her phone. Her hands were steady. He recorded the call. And he left it to me with one instruction. Use it when the time is right. My mother's face had drained of all color. I think the time is right, Grandma said. She pressed play. My mother's voice filled the ballroom, tinny but unmistakable. You think you're helping her? You're weak, James. You always were. Nora is weak too. She gets that from you. Bethany is the only one worth investing in. I'm not hiding that from you. I'm protecting her from your mediocrity. The recording clicked off. The silence that followed was absolute. Suffocating. I have James's will. The real one. Not the one you probated, where he left Nora his entire estate with the stipulation that she'd only receive it once she learned the truth. The floor dropped out from under me. $2 million. Grandma said quietly. Sitting in a trust for 9 years. Waiting. The ballroom erupted. Voices overlapping, people standing, chaos. I couldn't move.
Couldn't think.
My father had tried to reach me. For 3 years. And I never knew. All those nights I'd cried myself to sleep, wondering what I'd done wrong, why he'd abandoned me. He hadn't. She had. Bethany's face was the color of old snow. The microphone hung limp in Grandma's hand. Now, Grandma said, her voice cutting through the noise, I think everyone here should know one more thing. Diane didn't just intercept letters. She systematically alienated Nora from every family member who tried to help. She told us Nora didn't want contact. She told Nora we didn't care. She isolated a grieving teenager and then spent the next 9 years convincing everyone, including her own daughter, that she was the problem. My mother's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. And you, Bethany. Grandma turned to my sister. You learned from the best, didn't you? Tonight's little performance?
Classic Diane.
Humiliate someone publicly so thoroughly they can't fight back without looking worse. Bethany's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide the red creeping up her neck. Grandma set the microphone down on the head table with a soft thunk. The sound echoed in the silence. Nora, sweetheart, she said, turning to me, her voice gentle now. I'm sorry I waited this long. I made a promise to your father. I wouldn't tell you until you were strong enough to handle it. Until you'd built a life they couldn't touch. And you have. She smiled. You're going to be just fine. Better than fine. She handed me the envelope. My hand shook as I took it. The trust documents are in there. So, is everything else. Your father loved you, baby. Never doubt that. What happened next happened fast. My mother tried to save face, claiming Grandma was confused, that this was a misunderstanding. But people were already on their phones. In 2024, nothing stays secret. 3 of Bethany's bridesmaids left immediately. Turns out watching someone publicly humiliate their sister tends to make people reassess friendships. The wedding planner asked if they should cut the cake. Bethany screamed at her to get out. My mother's sister, Aunt Rachel, approached me in the chaos, tears streaming down her face. I tried to see you, she whispered, after your dad died. She told me you'd said you never wanted to speak to me again. I believed her. God, Nora, I'm so sorry. One by one, family members I thought had abandoned me came forward. Same story. All of them manipulated. All of them lied to. My mother had orchestrated everything. I walked out of that ballroom at 9:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I looked at my phone, saw 43 missed calls and 100 texts from numbers I didn't recognize, and realized the story was already going viral. Someone had recorded the whole thing. Of course they had. Grandma followed me outside. The night air was cool against my burning skin. I could still hear the chaos inside. Raised voices, crying. The band packing up early. How long have you known? I asked her. Since the beginning. Your father told me everything before he died. Made me promise to keep the documentation safe. She squeezed my hand. I wanted to tell you sooner, but you needed to be free of them first. If I told you at 20, 22, even 25, you would have tried to fix it. You would have tried to make them love you. Some things can't be fixed, sweetheart. Some people don't deserve the effort. I started crying then. Real crying. 9 years of grief I'd never properly processed. He loved me, I said. He loved you so much. Grandma pulled me into a hug. She smelled like lavender and something else, something that reminded me of safety. And he'd be so proud of who you've become. Despite them. Despite everything. The aftermath was nuclear. The video went viral, over 3 million views in 48 hours. My mother's social media was flooded with messages. She deleted everything and disappeared from public view. Bethany's new husband filed for annulment 6 weeks later. Turns out he hadn't known the extent of how she treated me. When his friends and family started reaching out, sharing their concerns, he realized what he'd married into. I met with the estate attorney on Monday. The trust was real. $2 million plus 9 years of compound interest. My father had left me letters. Dozens of them. I spent an entire week reading them, ugly crying in my apartment, grieving the relationship I'd lost and simultaneously grateful for this impossible gift. In one letter, dated 2 months before he died, he wrote, Nora, if you're reading this, it means you finally know the truth. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you better. I tried to document everything, to leave you proof, because I knew your mother would rewrite history. She's very good at that. But you need to know, you were never the problem. You were never too difficult, too sensitive, too anything. You were perfect exactly as you were. And I'm sorry I won't be there to tell you in person. Build a beautiful life, kiddo. You deserve everything. I framed that letter. 3 months after the wedding, my mother's carefully constructed social circle had evaporated. Turns out systemic child alienation doesn't play well at country club brunches. She tried to reach out once, sent an email claiming Grandma had misunderstood and that we could move past this. I blocked her. Bethany tried too. A long, rambling text about how she'd been influenced by our mother, how she didn't realize how bad it was. I blocked her too. Some people don't deserve access to your healing. A year later, my life looked completely different. I quit my job in Portland and started my own consulting firm. The trust money gave me the freedom to be selective, to work with clients I actually believed in. I bought a house, nothing massive, but mine, with a garden and room for the dog I'd always wanted. I adopted a golden retriever, named him James. Aunt Rachel and I started having monthly dinners. She introduced me to cousins I barely remembered, and slowly, carefully, I built relationships with the family members who'd been kept from me. Grandma came to visit every few months. We'd sit in my garden, drink tea, and she'd tell me stories about my father I'd never heard. "He knew you'd be okay," she told me once. "Even when things were darkest," he said, "Nora's got steel in her spine. She'll figure it out." I think about the wedding sometimes, about standing in that ballroom, feeling like the smallest person in the world, believing I deserved it. Here's what they never understood. They didn't break me. They freed me. Every cruel word, every deliberate exclusion, every moment they made me feel worthless. It taught me exactly who they were. And more importantly, it taught me who I wasn't. I wasn't the problem. I was the solution. I was the one who got out. The $2 million? I donated a third of it to organizations supporting children dealing with parental alienation. The rest I invested. My father had given me freedom, financial, emotional, complete. I wasn't going to waste it. Last month, I ran into one of Bethany's old bridesmaids at a coffee shop. Harper, the one who'd made the weird cousins comment. She didn't recognize me at first. I'd changed my hair, lost the haunted look I used to wear like a second skin. When she finally placed me, her face went red.
Nora. Hi.
I just wanted to say,
I'm sorry.
for everything. We all are. I could have been petty, could have twisted the knife. Instead, I smiled. I appreciate that. I hope you're well. Because here's the thing about revenge. The best kind isn't about making them suffer. It's about becoming so completely, genuinely happy that their opinions stop mattering. My mother lost her social standing, her credibility, her daughters, both of us, in different ways. Bethany lost her marriage, her reputation, her carefully curated perfect life. And me? I gained everything. I gained the truth. I gained freedom from people who would have drained me dry. I gained family members who actually loved me. I gained financial security. Most importantly, I gained myself, the version of me that existed before their cruelty tried to erase her. My father's last gift wasn't the money. It was permission to stop fighting for scraps from people who were never going to feed me. So if you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, if you have family members who make you feel small, who tell you you're the problem, who humiliate you for sport, please hear me. You are not the problem. You were never the problem. And the moment you walk away from people who treat you like you are, that's when your real life begins. I still have Grandma Lorraine's purple dress hanging in my closet. She gave it to me last year for my 31st birthday. "For the next time you need to feel invisible," she said with a wink. "Except you never will again." She was right. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the punchline. I'm done being anything except exactly who I want to be. And that champagne glass that shattered on the ballroom floor? I think of it sometimes. How the breaking sounded like an ending. But endings, I've learned, are just beginnings wearing different clothes. Comment below if you've ever been betrayed by your own family. You're not alone, and you're stronger than you think. If this story hit home, tap subscribe. We share true tales of betrayal, revenge, and resilience regularly. And, trust me, the next one? It cuts even deeper.